Good morning, class. Welcome to Plant 14's lab number 3. I just want to take some time to show you what you're doing with these plants and actually show you how to properly transplant and plant your pea seeds. So thank you for all of those that came by and grabbed your supplies yesterday. I really appreciated it, and so did the other Plant 14 professors. You should have received 4 containers. These are number 2 containers. If you look on the bottom, it's number 2, and these are 2-gallon containers, so that's hence the name number 2. These are used in commercial industry. These are what nurseries use for a lot of their smaller plants and their house plants, things that you would see at big box stores or retail centers. So you should have also received some potting soil, and what we are going to do today is show you how to properly transplant. So you have your number 2 container, you fill it to the top with soil. As you can see, we have soil in here, and it is all the way to the top. Now, you received 4 plants yesterday, and you also received some pea seeds. So what we're first going to focus on is the transplants. They're all labeled, and you can essentially just take that label and stick it right in your pot for easy identification. We're going to start with the cauliflower, and I'm going to only show you how to do one of these, one of each, planting the seeds and planting the transplant. You are going to make a short video of yourself to show comprehension and retention of the skills we're learning today. And you're going to create your own video. And yes, I know you can easily YouTube or Google this yourself, but I wanted to give you a first-hand account of what actually you are supposed to be doing in my class. So you're going to slowly remove the transplant from the 6-pack. If you're having some trouble, you can take a pen or a pencil and push up, and that'll allow, or push up with your finger, and that'll allow the 6-pack plug to come out. So here I have the cauliflower plant itself, the transplant. Now, if you notice, there are a ton of roots. The root system has worked its way around the plant, which is fantastic. What I would do, and I like to do, is I like to break that up just a little bit, just so it hangs and the roots start growing down and not continually circling around. They've been in these 6-packs for a few weeks, so we want to make sure that that root growth actually goes down into the bottom of our 2-gallon pot here. Now, your goal is to dig just as deep as the transplant. So you make a hole a little bit wider than the transplant and dig as deep as the transplant as well. The stuff on the top, the white pebbles, is called perlite, and that actually helps with absorption of nutrients and water, and also allows for some more pore spacing in the soil as well, and allows for proper drainage. So that's why perlite gets mixed into the soil. So I drop my plug into the soil, and I slowly begin to press it down. I don't want to press too much. I don't want a ton of compaction with my soil. That just allows the water to hold in one spot and actually will kill some of the roots with a disease called root rot. What I want to do is lightly press down the top of the soil, and I'll give you a closer view here in a few minutes when we actually take them outside to water. So that's what I'm doing there. And I have a nice transplant. So like I said, I'll show you closer when we go outside, but here's what you're looking for: a nice transplant. I have the label, and it's ready to go. All it needs now is some water. Now, we also have our pea seeds, and many of you were asking, how deep do we plant these? And I said, I'll make a video, I'll send it out to you, and you can go from there. So with that being said, we have our snow peas, as you can see here, highlighted in bright green. And these are all perfect fall, winter vegetables. So any of these things you see on this list, feel free to pause and take some notes. Any of these are perfect to plant right now, and they'll be ready in late fall to early winter. So these are some great things to plant. Like I mentioned before, these are very hardy, and they do really well in cool season. So you see beets all the way down to turnips. We're just going to focus on our snow peas. Those were the seeds you received yesterday. So a planting depth, that's how deep you plant them in the soil. If we were to plant these out at the school farm, but because of COVID, we're not going to be able to do that. How far you would plant in between each seed, and then days to germination. So how long until they actually break through the seed coat. And last but not least, days to maturity. That's essentially days to harvest. So you'll be able to harvest these in just over almost 3 months. So 2 months and 3 weeks. Like I said, late fall, early winter. But as early as 65 days, so 2 months from now would be early December, just before the beginning of winter, which is December 21st. So you could actually harvest these. You could be harvesting your peas in 60 days, essentially. So that also determines, there's a lot of things that goes into determining that things like temperature, also things like how much sunlight they're receiving, how much water are they getting too stressed. So please keep that in mind as you are going along and make sure you're taking care of your plants properly. In your lab 3, you have this chart that looks very similar to this. So you're gonna make sure you do a section for each part. So you're gonna do one for cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, and kale, what you received in your 6-pack. There's a chart to fill in, and then you also have this as well to fill in for each one. So you should have 5 rows that you're gonna fill in, and each one has its own piece of information. So going back to planting our snow peas, we know we're gonna plant them at a planting depth of 1 inch. So with that being said, I have pre-measured my pinky, and the first knuckle on my pinky, so from my fingernail to my first knuckle, I know is 1 inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant those in essentially a star pattern in my soil. So you can see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to essentially plant those in my soil as well, the same way. So I go down to my first knuckle and I make my little holes. And remember, same thing as when we did our cauliflower transplant, we're not getting crazy and really patting these down. We want to make sure that the seed actually germinates, so it breaks through the seed coat itself and actually sprouts. So that's important. So I lightly cover, just literally, I'm taking my hand and I'm literally massaging the soil up and over the top. And I am going from there. So like I said, I will give you an example of what this looks like up close when we head outside to water here in a few seconds. Like I said, I was going to give you a closer view on what this actually looks like. You can see my pea seed. I've already covered the other 4 seeds. So this remaining one is my 5th one that I received from our packet, and you should have received 5 as well. Now, like I said, I meant when I said lightly cover. It is literally just a lightly pinch over the top and a light pat down. That will allow the seed to germinate and break through the soil properly and will give your plant a nice healthy start to its life. Now, just like any living organism, water is the most key component of a healthy lifestyle. So what we're going to do is we want to make sure we set ourselves up for success and set our plants up for success by giving them the proper amount of water to start. And mind you, that's going to vary over time depending on things like temperature and sunlight, like we talked about. But for right now, we want to make sure they start out very, very healthy. So what we have here, and I just grabbed a pitcher out of my kitchen sink. This is a 2-quart pitcher, and I'm simply just going to slowly pour water over the top. And I don't want to go too fast. If I go too fast, it may kick up those seeds that I just recently planted and may pop them up to the surface and they won't actually germinate properly. So I go nice and slow, and I'm going to use the whole pitcher here. And you're going to see that water slowly come out of the bottom of the holes, the drainage holes on the bottom of the number 2 container. And that's how I know I watered properly to start off, when I can see that water slowly drip down through the bottom. It's very important to be observant, and we really want to make sure that we're taking our time to give our plants the best chance to grow right. And like I said here, this is 2 quarts, half a gallon, and I am still pouring. So that's how long it should take you to do the same thing with your plants from seed. So I did that there. Now, with your transplant, and I can see the water dripping down into the sink, which is perfect. Now with your transplant, it's a little bit different. Since there's not a seed to really protect, it's already a plant. You can go a little faster, but keep in mind that that's a freshly planted hole. So you do not want to just dump. It'll create a divot wherever the water lands, and we don't want that because that'll cause some problems for our roots. Same kind of thing. Just pour in a nice little circle around. And obviously, if you don't have a pitcher, you don't need to use one. A hose works just fine. Some other things to keep in mind. I would stay away if you have an adjustable nozzle, so it has like the things like jet and shower. I would use something more on the shower side rather than the jet side. Again, it just doesn't create a hole. It doesn't allow anything to happen, any damage to happen to your plant as well. And it'll allow for proper even drainage if you use the shower setting, because it's a head that fans out and evenly hits over the top of the plant itself. So something to keep in mind there as well. And this is lab 3. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. Talk to you guys later.